thank you so much for being here today. We're so grateful we get to interview you. I would love if you could introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Annette Nauraine. I'm originally from Iowa, and I understand that you, Courtney, are in Nebraska, North Dakota. I'm sorry. That's
North
like when
Dakota.
people say to me, "Oh, Iowa, potatoes, right?" And I'm like, "No, corn."
Love it. I would love if you could tell us what your books are about.
Well, the book I'd like to talk to you about today is Do Over Daughter, and it's a women's fiction book. And it's really about how women put so much pressure on themselves to love everyone perfectly and how they get tripped up by life because that's just not possible. And it's also about how our friends can love us into our best selves and carry us through life's really tough challenges, our losses and our disappointments, and how friendship really can get you through those darkest moments.
Love that. What inspired you to write your book?
Well, this 6 book series, this is the first book. It's called Do Over Daughter. And on my website and on a lot of the retail ebook sellers, you can find a free prequel, which is called In the Beginning, The Marriage Survivors Club. And it's about how these 6 women met. And so this series is set at a church called St. Paul's on the Green in Norwalk, Connecticut. And the series is really kind of it's a little bit of a Valentine to the church and to all the friends that I've met. And it's an Episcopal church, which is very open and welcoming and affirming. And all of these women find themselves in this church, and their friendships revolve around each other and how they find themselves sort of in deep water and they need to be pulled out, and how their friends do that for them. And I just loved the idea of 6 women, and the series is called The Marriage Survivors Club. And each one of these women has been bumped up by marriage. One woman is a widow. One woman has never married, but she's established a family. Another woman has been married 4 times. Another woman um, finds that her father was married previously and she didn't know that. So every woman has survived marriage in some way. And I just love the concept of how each one of them has a struggle.
Love that. When you were writing your book, who were you thinking of when it comes to who your book is for?
Oh, these women are 50 something. So these women have had a lifetime of experience, but their lives are not over. And so I see this book as for not just the 50 something women, but also for women who will certainly get to that age and maybe have had these same kind of struggles to get there, these same kind of struggles in their lives. And people don't write, and each book has a romance plot in it, a subplot. Each woman is confronted by loss and by love. And so when they get to that point of finding love again, they have to decide whether they're going to embrace that at this age, even though they've been bumped around before, whether they're going to do that again. And their friends can help them come to some conclusions about that.
Love it. How long have you been writing and what made you really sit down and start?
Oh, I've been writing kind of for forever. Um, the first books that I published, one is called Kissing the Cavalier, which is a historical romance. And that's based on the opera Arabella. And I used to be an opera singer. And so that book is what the composer really wanted, but didn't end up getting because his librettist, the guy who writes the words for the opera, died. And so this book is Kissing the Cavalier, Cavalier spelled with a K, is really about what the composer would have wanted. And it's set in 1867 Austria after the Franco-Prussian War. And then the other book I have is under a pen name of Sophia, spelled with an F, Sophia Barrow, and it's called Carrie and Bobby and the Dead Senator. And it's about how best friends accomplish getting rid of the corpse of a dead senator. So that's a caper. That was a fun book to write, just sort of, as a relief from serious writing. And these 6 books, this 6-book series that I have, I just, writers, they really write about themselves, whether they admit it or not, right? And so each character, I think, and sometimes you don't see that until you get the book written. And each character embodies a sort of facet of my own personality. One is Faith. She's very faithful, and she has a certain belief in miracles. And another woman has 2 adopted sons, one who is autistic, and I have 2 adopted sons and one who is autistic. Another woman who is half Guyanese, I'm half Guyanese. Another woman who blurts out things she shouldn't say. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who will say, Annette, I see you in this character. So there's every character is part of the author. And seeing these women in the background of St. Paul's, Norwalk, that's where I go to church. It's where I feel most accepted. It's part of what made me most accepted and made me accept a lot of things about myself. And so there was a lot of me in those books. And boy, writing during the pandemic, that was a great way to spend my time very productively.
Love it. What is your schedule like when you are writing a book?
You know, I'm having been an opera singer, you don't get anywhere without habit. And so I have deeply ingrained habits. Some people write to schedule, but I really just get up, walk the dog, get my shower, get dressed, and go to my computer. I look at it as a job. You have to prioritize yourself, you have to prioritize your creativity, you have to prioritize getting things done, or it just doesn't happen. And then, I get really crabby if I'm not working on my writing or something. And I know other writers say the same thing. It's like these things build up inside of you. These stories they're marinating, they're bubbling, and you just have to get them out. And I just write on a regular basis. I spend, and I'm very blessed in that way that I have the time to do that. I know women who get up I have a part writing pal. She gets up at 5 and writes before her kids get up, and she commits to writing 5,000 words a day. And it's just, I also when I'm first writing, I give myself the permission to just basically cough up a hairball. It's going to be really awful, and I know that. But you have to get to know your characters, and some writers are not like that. Some writers, I heard one writer say she spends 3 months just doing research, writing characters, so forth. I went to a reading one time with this guy, and he was a big fancy editor at a kind of a now defunct news magazine. And somebody said, well, what's your writing process? And he got this kind of blank look in his face. He said, oh, well, it just kind of came out. And I thought, your pants are on fire, pal. You're just lying, because that's just not true. And for me, I write and I write and I write. And sometimes I write like two really bad drafts, and I go back and excavate, and I pull out what I need, and I take what is really great, and I throw out a lot of words and stuff that I wrote to get to where I'm going. And that's called being a pantser. And I'm trying to do more planning. And I've taken a lot of online courses to try and learn to do that, and lay out the path of where I want to be and who my characters are, doing a lot of research on them and writing their backstory and writing their character flaws. Why do they take the trajectory that they do? Why do they make the choices that they do? And what things occur to make them take a new path? So those are the things that, that's kind of my writing process, which is sort of a little bit process and a little bit, wandering around in the wilderness.
Love it. What do you need in your writing space to help you stay focused?
um, Quiet and time. Those are the two things, and really support my community of writers. Some of that's online, some of it is with editors that I've connected with, people who help read, um, and my writing pals. I think those things are really critical to every writer. Books are, as I say at the end of my books aren't born in a vacuum. And you'll find that when readers get to the last few pages, and you should always read those last few pages, because you will read how many people get thanked. And that's how a book gets born. Um, that's what I need anyway. And that, I think, makes a good book. It used to be in the olden days, when writers wrote with a pen on ink or with a quill dipping in the ink. They could do that, but they had time. They had time. And sometimes their first readers, they didn't give credit to them. A lot of times, in those male writers, their first readers were their wives, and those wives never got acknowledged. And so those writers, they had people, they just didn't say so. So for me, it's the time and the people.
Love that. What is your favorite writing snack or drink?
My favorite writing snack or drink. My favorite writing snack has to be tea. My friend got me this really great teapot. It's clear, and it has a strainer. And then you pour the tea in, and it goes in the strainer. And then there's this little candle at the bottom that keeps the tea warm. And I have to be careful, because sometimes it's over caffeinated. And I'm like, oh, what's the next word? And for snacks, these wonderful blue corn chips. When I get up and I need a snack and my brain is like tired, these, either the Trader Joe's blue corn chips or these ones that are really thin, and it's a funny spelling. It's in a brown bag, and it's pronounced something like Sochil, and they're just incredible. Those are maybe a really good piece of fruit.
Love that. What type of books do you personally enjoy reading?
I read all over the place. My all-time favorite book is a book nobody's ever heard of, and it's called The Leopard, and it's by Giuseppe di Lampedusa and Il Leopardo, and it's a thrill from the beginning to the end, and it's about the reunification of Italy, and it's a brilliant book. And two other fantastic books are by Abraham Verghese. One was called Cutting for Stone, and his new book is The Covenant of Water, and it's 700 pages long. And people look at that and they think, oh no. But you know what? Every page was a thrill. And I listened to that book. I love the audiobook. And I was doing laundry and folding clothes like crazy because I didn't want to stop listening to that book, because he had all these fantastic accents that he used. I read a lot of historical romance. I read, oh boy, a lot of literary things, a lot of literary books I read. So I just kind of read all over the place. I mean, it's like, going to a buffet. You have to taste a little bit of everything. Sometimes you get overfed by one thing and you have to go and try something else.
Love that. Are there any books or authors that inspired you to become a writer?
I just felt like I had stories in me. Just felt like I had stories to tell. And frankly, the first book which I wrote, which is really terrible, it was a terrible book. But we were waiting in a Moscow hotel room for my first son's adoption to happen. And I just had to write. I was so anxious. I just had to write.
Love that. What books did you grow up reading? Did you have an all-time favorite?
Not that I can remember. I just remember reading a lot and just reading everything.
On the opposite side of that, now as an adult, what are your favorite series or authors that if they come out with something, you automatically grab it?
Oh, Ann Patchett's got a new book out that I can't wait to get my hands on. Um, Let me see who else. There's so many writers that I've listened to on audiobook or read, and I'm just dying for them to come out with something new. Let me see. Abraham Verghese took 10 years to write his last book. I love reading Julianne Long. She's got a series. She's a historical romance author. I love her books. They're so literary. I love, let me see, who else do I love? Grace Burrows is the bomb. Oh my God. She is just amazing. Her voice is so charming. She's also a historical romance author. I love, gosh, I just read so widely. It's like, oh, Sophie Irwin just came out with a new book, and I finished Ann Napolitano's blockbuster last night, and so I'm just getting ready to read Sophie Sophie Irwin's new book. So that's my next one.
Love that. What would you tell someone just starting out with reading again?
Read as much as you can and listen and try audiobooks. Sometimes you don't have time. I had a friend of mine, and she said to me, when her kids were little, she would have a book open on the counter, a kid on her hip, and she'd be stirring the pot on the kitchen stove. Make time. Just make time. You can listen to authors read their own work, or to their readers in the car. There's always a chance to read. You must read. And don't just read in one thing, read broadly. Read contemporary authors, read just get in there. Don't be afraid. And don't be afraid to, if your book doesn't hit you, don't be afraid to get rid of it. Put it on the do not finish pile. If don't beat yourself up slogging through a book. There are other books for you. And that's the beauty of books. There's so many books to be had. I have 3 different genres that I'm writing. And those are all completely different. And they're all by me. Kissing the Cavalier, historical romance, Carrie and Bobby and the Dead Senator, a caper, a mystery caper, Do-Over Daughter, which is women's fiction. So there's lots of books for everybody. And all 6 of my books, they each have a different tact. One is about social justice. One is about and they're all about finding who you are, right? It's your journey to your best self. So if you read mysteries, scoot over just a little bit and read romantic suspense, or just find a little another niche that you might find something else that you like. Don't be afraid to try a new author. That's what I would really say. Don't be afraid to go to the library, pick a book off the shelf. When I was a kid, I would take home books that I knew I couldn't read, like Einstein's Theory of Relativity. But I took that book home and I looked at that book when I was, 10. Don't be afraid. Just pick something out, even though you think it's challenging. But if you hate it, get rid of it.
Love that. On the opposite side of that, what would you tell someone just starting to write their own book?
Don't judge yourself. Don't judge yourself. Get that hairball out, write it. Don't be afraid to write badly. Don't expect to write the great American novel. You won't. That's been done by F. Scott Fitzgerald and Hemingway. Just tell your story. Just tell the story. Don't try to be perfect. Get to the end and then go back and read it. And if you can't stand, for years, I couldn't stand reading my own writing, which is really a bad characteristic if you want to be a writer. And remember that rewriting is writing. It's not just, nobody gets it out. Like that guy who claimed, oh, well, it just came out. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Writing is rewriting. So it's work.
Love that. What's one thing that people are generally surprised to find out about you?
That I was an opera singer. And that I'm not from New York. Even when I was in Iowa, people would say, are you sure you're not from New York? Because I've kind of a brash, very forward way about me. So, having spent years as an opera singer, people will say, really? They can't believe it. But that's true.
Love it. Is there anything you would like to say or add?
Just that I have loved writing my series, the Marriage Survivors Club. The Marriage Survivors Club has been, so much fun. And I think readers will enjoy them. I think readers will enjoy getting to know these 6 women and their struggles and the other characters around them. I think readers will really enjoy them. I think they'll have a lot of fun.
Love that. Where's the best place for readers to find your book? I know some readers love signed copies. Is that an option? And the best place to connect with you?
Connect with me online on my Facebook page. I have a profile and a page, either one. If somebody wants a signed copy, they can ask me and I'd be thrilled to send you one. So you can find me on any ebook seller, Barnes and Nobles, Amazon. I publish what's called wide, so I'm not exclusive to any one retailer. So I'm on all the retailers or in retail bookshops. You can definitely ask your librarian. I would be so thrilled if you would ask your library to get one of my books. And I've also started doing digital narration. So the books are not always, you as an author, you can have digital narration through Google Play. I have some books on there. And the digital narration, I know that AI is a really touchy subject for everybody right now, but boy, it is good. It is really good. And so my books are available in digitally narrated audio. If you can ask your library to get those or your local bookstore, order in my books, that would be great. It would be so helpful for me as an author. And when readers buy my books, leave a review. Those are gold for an author, and authors are so thankful for that. So whenever you read a book, go on to their profile or on e-tailers and leave a review for that author. It's so much appreciated.
Love that. Well, thank you so much for being here today. We're so grateful we got to interview you. We'll be sure to drop some links in the show notes. That way everyone can find you. And again, thank you so much.
Great. I really appreciate having the chance to speak to you and your listeners. Thank you.